Finish the story. If you've watched anything on this channel, you probably know that relates to a lot of stuff that I'm into. But yeah, that was one thing that was an aim for FM24, and that was to finish the story. This video is going to look at my save I had with the club I support, a small little community club in Scotland which is Motherwell, and basically how we went on to become the global force in the world, the biggest club in the world by reputation, and without a shadow of a doubt, my most successful football manager save probably of all time. So this team, in the first season, you're kind of talking expected to finish 8th or 9th, no European football off the bat. You can see here, just from my landmarks, and this is at 2029, this is at one point in the story where I wasn't sure if we were going to do my initial aim, which was just to win a title, but everything started to change not long after this. This is when I decided, I don't know, I'll save it and take another job and see how I go there. I never played the other save. It was going to be to try and win a title with Man United. But you can see straight off the bat here, Viaplay Cup winners, and we were very keen from the start. Infrastructure. So it was a case of any chance we could with any money we recruited in. Training facilities, youth recruitment. A big factor for me, and I always believe this is the mentality Motherwell should have in real life. Sign as much as you can, punt off as much as you can, whether it's coming through the academy or through the first team, you'll benefit from that. I mean, come on, look, it's 2029, I have 45 million in the bank. And this continues as a theme for a long time in the save. I was quite often sitting with £1 billion in the bank, bearing in mind I had no tycoon, and bearing in mind I'm in Scottish football, so that gives you an idea that over time, how much player sales were a massive factor. But look at 2029, you can see here, I hadn't won a title. I'd finished twice in second place. I'd finished third 3 times. So I just couldn't get over the hurdle of Celtic. That was always the problem. I won a Scottish Cup, 2029, and I'd won 4 Viaplays, somehow dominating the Viaplay in 24, 25, 26 and 27. So for some reason, I'm usually terrible in cup competitions. This seemed to be the one. But it's not as if we were terrible like in our league performances. You know, the first season we ended up with 51 points, with 5th. We basically got to the top 6 and then crumbled. And then after that, consistency of always getting close or into the 70s and then close to the 80 points. But against Celtic, we're always just that wee bit better. We'll jump to the Conference League. You can see the first season, actually for the first few bits, we just get clubs that were as far bigger than us. So Conference League, 3rd qualifying round, unseeded, you get Utrecht. So that ended in disappointment. But the season after, we done well. I always felt like playing the new format, the Champions League, was always more enjoyable for me. How it will be in real life, I don't really know. So the fact that we managed to get to where we needed to be, qualified to the latter stages, and then from there, that gave me an opportunity to get to the quarterfinals. Was to Wolfsburg, then it was the last 16 to Genk, and then the quarterfinals the year after to Young Boys. So still didn't feel we quite had the squad where we wanted it to be. Europa League, well, you can see their first half qualifying round. I didn't even have players ready in time because it was so early. Just sporting my way. No chance. Then so close to getting to the Europa League group phase, but with Young Boys, they beat us here, so it wasn't the first time. And a great run in 28-29 there. We got to the quarterfinals where we just get Tottenham, and obviously any time a club with that money and resource takes on a club like us, no chance. At the time of when I'm actually doing this video, Motherwell were second. They'd won 2 games in the Europa, but obviously I am like 30 seasons ahead of this when we get to the final copy. And Champions League, both times, 3rd qualifying round, because obviously we're unseeded and we're not in the Champions draw, losing to Genk and Feyenoord. So it's all much bigger clubs than Motherwell, and we really were pushing above our weight. But the reason we kind of got to these places, you can see there the transfers obviously have helped us. But it goes right to the start. Motherwell, in real life at this time, had a striker crisis. We also carried that over to this. Mika Bereth was out for a long period of time. I ended up panicking and going for kind of like players that I was familiar with. So like Ben Waine coming in for Plymouth. We also brought Lee Irwin back from, I think it was at the time, Lebanon he was at. And then there's just like a few random ones like Yamiat Medina was like a winger, but never really kicked on. I was like, oh, he's going to be someone we can properly do stuff with. I mean, we did make money, but you can see he never really played for us. But again, into that whole bracket of sell, buy for whatever, and sell for whatever else on top of that. Other people, it was just to get through the first season, so it was like Caelan Casey, Sonny Carey, Josh Reid coming back up the road, and transfer listed Jay McGrath joined at the end of the season, who didn't really kick on. We didn't do too much in terms of sales. It was really just getting people who were youngsters or people who just weren't good enough out the door. So in terms of this particular part of FM, Wilkinson was terrible, and they didn't really rate Shane Blaney, so he was out to Livingston. Then we started to get a bit of money, and at the same time, spend a bit of money, because you're going to see the guy that effectively kicked everything off, and that guy's name is Clinton Molla. So Clinton Molla was a free transfer from Reading, could play left, centre back and centre back. Wasn't particularly great for me, if I'm being honest, but you can see he had a great career beforehand in terms of statutory club. Chelsea, Stuttgart, massive clubs, Blackburn on loan. Then obviously the year at Reading, we got him from there. Only played 25 times. We loaned him out to Blackburn, and then Sporting Gijón paid £5 million, and from there everything just snowballed. But that first season kind of went with that whole thing of players I knew, experience, players that didn't quite make it at a bigger club, and then just other bits and bobs, gambles, and the like. So in terms of like familiar faces, Dale Taylor I had utilised before on loan in a previous FM when I was at Kilmarnock, so seeing he was available was a no-brainer. Giuseppe Ambrosini from Napoli was a massive gamble that paid off great. And then just bringing on the experienced names, like people I knew were going to turn out okay. Paying the buttons for Liam Scales, getting Adam Montgomery on loan, which Motherwell ended up doing in real life. Sadly got injured after the game in real life, but for me, we got him permanently after it, and pretty much become a Motherwell icon for there. But you also balance it with the risks of the likes of Kellen Watts and Connor Coventry, and the experience of John Fleck. Mark Mahoney, or Mahoney, was alright, good young player, but as I say, it's probably too early for him. And you can see there, once we hit the summer of the following season, bringing the likes of Lewis Strapp for free, Sam Curtis and Brett Bereth back in loan. Sam Curtis was a good one. We bought him for like 425k. We ended up selling him for, what was it, a couple of million. I think he actually went to Napoli, I believe. Yeah, 2.5 million. That was his release clause. But as I say, you get a season out of him and you make that amount of profit. A club at Motherwell's fantastic. In terms of outs at this point, Zadrowski went to Canberra for money, getting the likes of Wilkinson off the books, and somehow nearly get £1 million for Lee Irwin from St Mirren. Wasn't complaining. After that, we stuck to the kind of cheaper signings. There's one there that you can see was absolutely a bit out there, and he was absolutely fantastic for us. But I just want to quickly look at this kind of outs. Jared Freeman was like the first one at like 16 that came through the youth intakes. It looked exceptional. Didn't really kick on, but it was certainly, I was excited at the time. I thought he was going to be amazing. The same with Carlo Mortimer. But apart from that, as I say, it was just a case of getting a lot of the youngsters out on loan. No real massive sales. In terms of the end, Fogarty was basically a reserve player. Tom Bayliss gave us an extra option in the middle of the park. Done okay. Sonny Perkins was fantastic. We ended up bringing him in permanently a few years down the line. Joe Belmont, same idea, but just never really kicked on as much as I hoped. I was really happy with Joe Belmont at the time. He just came in and every so often scored goals. 11 goals in that first season before we brought him in permanently. But his playtime diminished and ended up down at Plymouth. And then it was like Cadden just for an extra body. Leon King and John Suter were cheap frees in terms of they were going to be homegrown as well. But you can see there straight away, Shaquille Van Persie. How the hell we got him in loan, with a reputation, I will never know. But a gamble definitely worth paying, because 16 goals in 28 games for us, 27 in 43 in all competitions. Another season back in the first team at Feyenoord. And after that, get a £28 million move to Real Madrid. So I think that one worked out best for all parties. It was truly fantastic. Then the money flew in. It was a very good couple of days when Sam Curtis and Molla made their moves. So that gave us 7.5. And if you think it's good for these kind of things just now, Saudi Arabia helped me massively with the players they were taking. But also the fact we got like great money for Dundee, paying $1 million for Bevis Mugabe. And then Arbroath, after promotion, deciding to pay up to 725 grand for Blair Spittle at the time. Spitz was quite good for us. He got a horrible injury in the first season, but you can see, sorry, in the second season, but the first season he done alright for us. After that, it was more like an impact player. It was trying to get him out the door. But Bevis was actually our top goal scorer first season, which is crazy. Oh, was it this one? Maybe it wasn't. I swear there was like an FM where Bevis Mugabe just was my top goal scorer because nobody could score. I've done that many moral saves. But anyway, in terms of recruitment, Joe Belmont was in, Darko Giabe, Freddie Potts, Matthew Whittingham, Cody Drama. Cody obviously historically a good time in FM. Permanent deals for Sonny Perkins. Connor Barn came in for 90k, which was crazy. A big loan fee for Rory Wilson, which I thought was going to be worth it. Was it worth it? I can't remember. I can barely remember having Rory Wilson. 11. He was one of the top goal scorers. They used to 2-3 in all comps, so I wasn't terrible. We did bring him back at one point. Also brought back the likes of Alan Campbell, and it was just like padding that with like little cheap deals, etc. But there's a few here that have massive significance to the future of the save. The first one I'll go is Thiago Higuera. I don't know how I stumbled across him. I think it might be in a scout report, but we paid like minimal for him. In fact, it was a freebie. We managed to get £16 million from Real Sociedad for him, and at a club at Motherwell, that's wow. The other significant one is Martin Engstrom. Now, Martin Engstrom at this moment in time is still at the club, but Martin Engstrom was the first regen I'd bought from another club to sell on. You can already see 17 to 21 million. We were making big money from him. He played as a winger. I, at this point, believe I still didn't play wingers. Oh, actually, I'm at Man United, so I can't check that, that's right. But we played 3-5-2 when I was at Motherwell, constantly. My tactic was literally just Motherwell real life, that's what I based it on. Until eventually I did change it to just playing 4-4-2. But at the time we never had wingers, so he was getting shoehorned in like left, right and centre. Still managed to get a decent amount of goals. But he was the big one because a big move. And Pavel Ramic, we can see here is in Tottenham's under 21s. 1.2 million. So we basically got a season out of him. Sold him for 12.5 million with a return on a loan for a year. And as I say, if we kept doing that investment, a club our size is absolutely massive. So I'm going to quickly see, because obviously I'm not going to go through every transfer ever made, because God, this goes up to 2065, but you can just see really utilising cheap players that maybe didn't quite make it, Rangers or Celtic, that were going to turn out pretty decent, and really utilising the loan market as well. So for this crop, I'll just highlight key ones here. A massive one was Donald Chialamo. He was only in loan, sadly. We tried to make it permanent, but he had such an impact with us that, he just decided to go to Juve. I mean, I don't even know. I think I was just looking for a Benfica B, and I saw him and I went, he looks incredible. So the fact we got a midfielder that scored 14 times in the league and 10 assists was fantastic. But yeah, Juve ended up paying a 34.5 mandatory clause to get him. There was a few risks in there as well. Tilajovsky was the same kind of idea. Farias coming from Man City, previous FM legend. Callum McKenna looked like he was going to be exceptional, but never really kicked on. Oh, and like the game, he was really good at the start. Tesgale, based on a former Motherwell save, he'd signed for Rangers and scored against me constantly, but couldn't get him in. Couldn't get him, sorry, to score that type of goals for us. You can see there, 3 goals and a couple of sub appearances. These two, when we had a bit of money to play with and just started raiding South America. Jonathan Sanchez was fantastic for us. He was never the greatest technically, but by God, he could tackle in that aggressive nature with fantastic physicals. We went on to make a tidy profit on him. And this man, I cannot speak highly about him. Looks alright, yeah. No, can do the main things, can dribble, can finish. Mentals are pretty good. Physicals are okay. This man would go on to be our first £40 million sale to Newcastle, and he would go on to have an absolutely exceptional career with Newcastle United. Making a lot of money. We tried to bring him back when he was like 36, but turned down our riches to sign for somewhere in Saudi. So it had its cons as well. But you can see here, we made a lot of money, but it was all off of one sale, and that was a £13.25 million sale of Adam Montgomery. He was fantastic for us, but again at that time, that type of money was just massive, and was something I definitely had to consider. So you can see here, was constantly getting into double figures, well, 2 times get double figures into assists. And then obviously he was on the way to do that before Feyenoord made the move. Because we utilised the 3-5-2, the wing backs just kept bombing forward and he was getting so many assists, so many balls in the box. And that's how, as I say, he was able to have the stats to back up a big move. So it was great to get that money for Montgomery. And yeah, even when we get to the 2065, you'll see club icon. 28-29, who did we sign here? I'd say Zabuli as well. Zabuli went on for big money as well. I think he went to Hoffenheim. But again, a 1.4 pick up some Slovan Liberec. I feel like when you should get that wee bit of money and you can start looking left, right and centre, then there's so many things you can do, so much money you can make in the trading market. And that's obviously how the club went for there. A few kind of signings just to point out. Cornelius was brought in for homegrown. Tommy Conway was a chance to bring him in. Turkey, I thought it was alright for me. I never really kicked on, but it scored vital goals at times after he came in for Bristol City. Lloyd Jackson was a youngster coming in for Man United. Josh Fraser was a young central midfielder on loan from Middlesbrough. Never really kicked on, which I was quite surprised at. I think we did try and get him permanently, but was never really there. Rasul and Dai, we ended up somehow making £8 million very, very quickly. Played 4 times for us. They loaned him, loan to buy. I'm like, buy. Cheap profit, I'll take it. Try to think of other massive signings here. You can see properly utilising just anywhere. Jonathan Perez. I actually never thought he really made anything out of it. But again, like Don Ballard came in, done a job. And then David Ojeda from Sporting Licueno. Just a lot of real risks here. Players that, as I say, we could get them in smaller wages to try and punt them on. I think Stephen Jones we ended up selling for big money. And in this window, the sales, obviously we mentioned Ramic earlier on. Cody Dramere, so he was on the list side for Montgomery. But again, getting the assists, 13 assists from right wing back. And that got him back down south for £11.5 million profit, which was crazy. So really, it sounds like I've made a lot, but in reality, it was only really off of Ramic and Dramere, and a little bit from Medina. In 2029, we took a risk with Gabriele Biancheri. Some experience in there in the form of John McGinn, George Long as a goalkeeper, Victor Lindelof and David Brooks. A risk on Joe Bellingham, still think he was great in this one. Really regretted paying the £1.4 million for Adam Devine, because he wasn't very good, and he wasn't very good for Motherwell in real life. And Cal Medusi was an interesting one. We loaned him in, but honestly, I don't think he was particularly great for us. And I don't even remember Samuel Boateng. So that says a lot. Because seeing you play so many games, right, and so far in the future, there's players will look back and go, I don't remember them. And then there's others I'm like, I'll never forget you. You were fantastic for me. So the 24.5 again makes it sound like it was lots, but in reality it was just in Dai and Higlera's moves, which kind of funded here. A lot of people out in loan. I was very key on, like, Motherwell don't have a reserve team, it's basically first team. I think we go 20s. I'm sure it's 20s, the official shows. There's a reserves and 18s, but the reserves, like, there's nothing there effectively. But I feel like there's still a gap between 18 and reserves. I'd prefer the 20s. But it was getting us a lot of youngsters out on loan, making sure everybody's playing football and nobody was just sitting about. So even if I looked at the team at this time, after I'd left, I'd still Liam Kelly, who was rejecting big moves to like PSG and the like, which was crazy. I still had Lennon Miller, which is mad. I just look at the team I'd assembled, I'm like, it was alright, it was good to handle a couple of competitions, I had a lot of versatile players. But everything was pretty much coming from Tim Muller and Jonathan Sanchez down those wing-back areas, basically trying to get Ballard. Ballard was the main man to start with, which was a rib on Matty at the time. And David Martinez took a bit of time to kick on, but as I say, what a player. Even Tim Muller didn't look particularly great, but he like ended up with like great assists just purely because of the 3-5-2 system. But things look good in 2029. Over the course of the next 30 seasons, obviously you see a lot of new gens come through. A few had their full careers at Motherwell, and a lot of them, as I say, never moved on. And it's quite cool. Like, I don't like some of them. I don't have like their stats anymore, but I was so thankful. Like, I'd done a full thread on Twitter, so a lot of them are accessible on that. If you're ever curious to see how a lot of stuff went down from the off, Because I did start as a Twitter thread until I got to like the mental ages, and I was like, I just can't keep this up. But I think it was until we won at least a couple of titles, even the Champions League. Like the thread went on for a while. It's my pinned tweet, and I don't intend to change that. So if there's anything you're ever curious on, check that out. But we are going to dip to 2065. We're going to see what changed, who was part of the journey, and what history we made at Motherwell Football Club. Welcome to the future. Welcome to 2065. A lot has changed. A lot of memories were made. And I was going to say the whole footballing complex has changed, but the reality is only Ayr, Dunfermline at Falkirk are new to the top flight of football. But this journey was absolutely fantastic. So many players that really only I'll have an affection with because the memories were fantastic. So what I'm going to go to is actually, if I can find it, club info. So you can see here, everything's maxed out. Everything went to absolute plan over time. We got a reputation to be the best club in the world. Our social media followers is massive. But most importantly, training, youth facilities, youth recruitment meant we're always bringing quality in. We never at any point had debt. We always made sure the books were balanced. And we were rewarded. Eventually, persisting, we got to the final of the Champions League in 2047 before finally winning it in 48. Losing the next two in 49 and 53, and then finally getting another 7, which took us right up to 2065. The trophy that kept me playing and eluded me for a long time was the Club World Championship. It was just a case I was never ready for it because of when it was. 61 we went close, which I was tempted to end the save there, but we went to 65. We went one more attempt at it, and we picked up the win. We did win the elusive championship in 2030, so that was a good thing about staying on. We did get that championship the year after. We then had our worst season after, which seen us finishing 4th. Took us a while to win it again to 2033, and we won it every year since. As soon as we got there, as soon as we got that Champions League money, everything just clicked into place, so that was fantastic. Scottish Cup wound up with 28 wins, wound up with 6 UEFA Super Cups, 32 Viaplay Cups, and even our reserves won the SPL Trust Trophy. So overall, it was fantastic. In terms of landmarks, there's probably one I should utilise. You can see here, we didn't actually have that many takeovers, I think only really 2. But if we scroll all the way back down here, we basically can see there we had the move to Hampden. So if I can find it, we basically had the John Hunter Park. That was our first stadium, and I was like, I'd quite like to try and get a stadium in my name, because the maxed out capacity was like 38,000, which, as I say, we attracted that very, very quickly. So from there, we ended up getting to 20. We even had a failed tycoon, by the way. We got to 2063, I believe. If we scroll all the way up, so many trophies won, which was good. And you can see there the move to Lee Maxwell Park, and eventually, just there. So I don't even know if we've played in it at the upgraded capacity now of 82,010 supporters. But getting that stadium was absolutely class. It says recent fixtures, but well, I would have played it just not in the full 82,000. But it was really, really class to play, with Motherwell in such a incredible arena in my own name. It was just absolutely fantastic to see and to get that accolade. But there's a few things here I want to drop in before we go through transfers and the like, and that is 2 players that showed up quite a while ago, because their careers started at Motherwell Football Club and ended. I actually want to highlight someone else. Absolutely insane. So Jamie Hartley came through at Hearts, and I think he was like 17. I was Scotland manager at the time, and he was incredible, and I'm like, I need to sign this guy. So we signed him. He was absolutely outstanding, and we ended up selling him for absolutely mega money. So you see there, 22.5 million we paid for him. In fact, that was when we brought him back, so 19 million we paid for him, and we sold him for 130 million to West Ham, who at the time were like a tycoon back. They were massive, the biggest club. They'd actually won the Champions League but never the Premier League. And then we brought him back in loan before, we brought him back, sorry, just because it was in the fields, and then he went to Saudi. It's funny we click on European Golden Ball, or Golden Boy, because so many of these players either played for Motherwell at the time or were on loan. So that's how good my recruitment was. It was always trying to make sure we're getting the next big thing and selling them on. So like Hosman, straight away, sold him for big money to Liverpool. If we keep going through here, Jack was minimal money, went to Man City. Landry Kalu, we eventually sold to Leeds, who the tycoon at the time. Morty Widrington was absolutely exceptional. He played practically his whole career here. Left winger, we paid big money for him. It was like 30 odd million when he was like 18. And we sold him for 20, but 158 goals for 331 appearances off the left wing in the league alone. As I say, 44 competition wins. Says a lot for Morty Widrington. But after that, Barrett went, Kieran Banks came out of our academy, Hedera, Kaznerovic was on loan from us, Dimitriatos, Rennie was us, Ulian Pot was out on loan from us, Marquez was out on loan from us. I'm not going to pronounce his name, but he was out on loan from us. I've actually lost him in a free, which was quite disappointing. Now if we go right up, the likes of Netta, Whips, Sean Millen was at Rangers, and we straight away signed him. Hoffman, Carson and Peters are here at this present time. So it was really utilising, once we had that financial backing, to really kick on from there. Before we actually look at the present crop, if we can find them, because I don't think they came under icons. So icons, over time, I mentioned Landry Kalu. I say he was absolutely great for us. He played in the right, Widrington played in the left. It was just constant go, go, go in that 4-4-2. Christopher Pedraza could play right back, could play right wing, so he was exceptional for us as well. Paid a big money for him at the time, but we had it, we'd saved it, £9 million. And as I see, once we eventually got him cooking, double figures of assists nearly every season. Before we got to an age, I thought we may as well cash in, because we had some good up-and-comers on the right-hand side. Anybody else? And here is just going to be a who's who of new gen. So we look at Jordan Rennie coming from the academy, centre half, Jorge Martinez, Una Dubre, Hoffman, down a wee bit more. Peters is already there, he's not long signed. Widrington, Akove, we paid £100 million for, sold him to Leeds for 130, so at least there was profit there. He was like one of those strikers I wanted to try and take us to the next level. Montgomery, Olsen, Banks, Nuno Goncalves, Brinker, Whips and Kadar. And same here, all Church came out of academy, which is quite cool, and he's about to maybe go to Man City, but I won't know, because I probably won't play it again, unless it can be imported to FM25. I might see what the epilogue is of the save, but the crazy thing is, I just want to touch on two here, because the players I actually wanted to look at are not here, but Nuno Goncalves, absolutely exceptional. Mentally, physically, he's not quite there anymore at 36, but he's pretty much got to leave to go home, which is fine. Iconic career. I did pay £40 million from Victoria Guimaraes. Again, that was recommended by an agent, but it looked like he initially struggled, but by God, when he clicked, man, what a player. So many vital goals, and just an absolute legend. Another one that I was going to look at was Zoltan Kadar. We'll see more on Zoltan Kadar later. We did pay £92 million for a 20-year-old goalkeeper, but he ended up playing 555 league games. He ended up playing 900 overall, and he is also the top goal scorer for goalkeepers in world football, with more goals than Jose Chilavert and Rodrigo Seni ever scored. We put him on penalties, and there was a lot of penalties. Well, 97 we paid for him, sorry. There you go, 105 goals in the league. It's not including the Champions League goals, etc, etc. But we'll see that once we hit our Hall of Fame. But it's two players I wanted to touch on. I need to try and find them, because they are such key components, but it was just more the longevity rather than anything else, and that is Adam Garrity and Stevie Leslie. To you, you just see a young, well, a 36-year-old retired player there, 382 games and 26 goals. I see a guy that I gave his debut at 16 and retired at 36. A guy could play left wing back, right wing back, left mid, right mid. So much depth for us. And you can see our playing career spanned 21 years. When somebody's played that many seasons for you, you kind of get attached to them. Another one was Adam Garrity. Roughly at the same time, 21 years, he went 2029 2050, he made 314 league appearances for us. He was a central midfielder, also a key component when I was at Scotland manager as well. And eventually we just let him get on loan just to get experience. But the key with both is, if Leslie doesn't go to Partick Thistle and kick on, I don't take notice. If Garrity doesn't go to Queen's Park and kick on, I don't notice. And two of them are absolutely massive. They're just there. I don't know what else to say. They were just so good for me. And it's looking through here and looking at all these kind of players that we've had over the time and made big moves. Brian Rodriguez made his move to Leeds, a left wing back. He was very good, but again, major profit again. I don't know if we'll say how much we paid, from 3.2 to sell for 25.5 million. So it was getting as many players as we could to England and to Saudi. So we're just going to transfer history. It's going to do it by season rather than all time, which would have been nice. So I think we kicked. I'm just going to go through like bigger ones. So you can see here, that's where we left off. I also end up spending money on the likes of Toff and Dragayev. But then the money starts to kind of start coming in and start going. So you can see here, I am really hammering the likes of Chile, Colombia, and again, seeing if we can read anything for likes of Benfica, if there's anybody that are rejects, for other Scottish clubs that I think could maybe kick on. They're there, also taking the risks in the likes of Jean Carlos Macias and bringing in Fletchers as well. In terms of outs, in this season, who was a big one that went, was the bully, that move to Gladbach. But you can see it's really kicking up now, £43 million. Graham White, oh my word, how did I forget about Graham White? Graham White we signed for 10.75 million. Graham White is now an assistant manager at Motherwell Football Club at the age of 54 years of age. We basically sold him to Leicester for big money, never done too much. We brought him back for a few seasons before making a bit more profit when he went to Al Shabab. And then when he retired, we brought him back as a coach. But that was great, as I say, £10 million, 2 good seasons, 61 million straight down to England. We got him back for 17.5, and then we, despite getting some good seasons out of him, made our money back and more. So Graham White was absolutely sensational. Moreno, what was Moreno? I think he was a centre back, 101 goals. But he was pretty cool. And then the likes of, I don't think Taran done anything. And CT had a very good career, I'm sure. Atlanta, Salzburg. So he done pretty well for himself. He was taking these punts for these kind of places. Guerra was our goalkeeper. No, he was certainly not a goalkeeper. I don't remember you. I mean, we sold him for 18 million. I should probably remember that. But again, that just talks on the amount of people we brought in. The likes of Kim Sung-Cho was actually really good for us. He definitely was a centre back. Again, £10 million profit, because my defensive partnership was him and Suzuki for a period of time. And in terms of outs, that was a big move for David Martinez. But you can see there, 1-2 ratio for us, and then goes on and continues that for Newcastle as well. So I didn't know how good a player I'd signed, but it turned out I'd signed someone absolutely phenomenal, as you can see from that. And then again, Ekstrom, we got the 22 million, so straight there, big money. Tim Muller, Luca Fletcher back down south. And then just a few that maybe never kicked on, but as I say, it was to trim the squad down a little bit. Make good money. Just going to try and go through these as quick as I can, because obviously there's a lot. Facundo Rodriguez, who's another one, £8 million. And we sold them for 40. A lot of times we just try to round it up to a decent number, get them to go to a big club, and sometimes we'd have like a little sell on as well. But a few places now just really try to gamble with a lot of players. Our bigger stature allowed us to obviously recruit loan players. So like Facundo Rodriguez, we basically loaned him in, and then we did actually pay the money for him. And I'm pretty sure that's the same guy actually. Aye. So we ended up signing him in a permanent. Actually, that's right. Silly me. It's the same person. But anyway, outs: Jacomi, Taran, Troff, Dragayev, Jackson, Gasper, Raskin, Sanchez. We mentioned way back in the video. It was all about making good money. You can see here, 76 million of ins. So a lot of money was getting spent. Again, looking at that Colombia market, even tackling the likes of Kreva Zaveda in Serbia, but really hitting home these new gens. Sepulveda was very good for us. Paul Nobbs actually was poor for us, but a great career. Like, proper great career down south. I always remember going, oh, I would regret that. Ronald Gutierrez was a goalkeeper we brought in for minimal money, 3.1 million. We sold him to Everton for 35, and he at 37.5. He had a great career as well at Man United. Just to name a club in there. Camacho was good in the middle of the park, but again, it's just making sure profit was always happening, and then you get to the mental stages. So we made mega money. So one window, I sold a lot of players, and a lot of players for big money. If this wants to stay up here, thank you, Graham. It's always a pain in the arse to change scrots to that as well. Graham White, Moreno went. He was obviously the centre back. Tasic went, who was right back to Newcastle, and Seti went. We cashed in on Rodriguez, the two Rodriguez's. Eden Howe went to Aston Villa. Our goalkeeper, Tom Barino, went as well. Vidic, centre back, went to Ipswich. And just really tried to cash in as many as we could. That allowed us to bring in Federico Sione, who ended up having a great career at PSG, sorry. Magnus Johansson, who ended up at Real Madrid, I want to say. I think it was him. There was two Johanssons. And just really trying to just bring in players from... being a bit more aggressive now with players coming in from Atletico Paranense and International as well. So it was really trying to get as many players I felt we could make big money off of. And then that became a regular theme. Bring them in, sell them on for as big as we can. Sione got his move, Petrovic got his move, Sepavilla that we mentioned, a lot of them going for big 10, 15 million, and then you just rinse and repeat. So I would be constantly looking at scout reports, constantly looking at other stuff. And bear in mind, like, we are bringing in like a lot of players, as you can see, from all over the world, but we're also like bringing in our academy players, so we're perfectly well balanced. I'm just going to keep them through. You can see 210 out, so we were constantly making sure the bank balance was high, because I knew we were going to get another stadium at one point. Gonzalo, man, he was a striker, I remember him. But that's wild, isn't it? A season and a half, maybe 42 games, 19, and away to Venezia, who the tycoon at the time. 354 million. Oh, don't remind me of Angel Cabrera. What a player he was. Brought him in for mega money. Sorry, bought him in cheap, sold him for mega money, brought him back, and then sold him again to Real Madrid because he was unhappy. Basically come back and scored nearly a goal a game. He was incredible. Another one that finished his career out in Saudi was in Hansen. David Sharp was one of our academy graduates, so the fact that we, as I say, even got him back in loan for a season. But again, he wanted to kind of leave because the reputation of the club wasn't quite where we needed it to be. We made good money. Rezic was another striker. Dukic was a winger. And Anton Keane, we'd actually bought 17.5 million from Hibs, I believe. 13.5. Release clause sadly saw him go to Newcastle. Juve for 30.5 million. Great career at Juve, but again, it was just that small bit of profit, and then other players going. Who the hell's McNulty? I have no idea who you are. I am perplexed. Why are you called McNulty? I don't recognise him at all. Nope. Maybe that's corruption of the data, I don't know. But anyway, Felipe Aloni came in, we sold him for big money. Dean Ford came in and went in a window, but profit. So everybody we tried to ensure we made profit on, regardless if they made it or not. We'll go through a few seasons. You can see there 242, 228 million, 328, 304. So we were constantly getting this big money, and a lot of people out in loans as well. As we lost the likes of Graham White to Al Shabab. Jim and Diaz never clicked on, so he's a winger. The sad thing is, it's like 2042, but they're all retired. Greg Mel went to Arsenal. He didn't really kick on with us as well. Try to see who we sold, 193 million. We did pay big money. I think this is a year we really had to reinvest, but then again, that's sort of sign Angel Cabrera. Wassim Pujol, who is our under-18s fitness coach, we paid big money for him, 67, but he was like literally our captain. He was our stalwart in the middle of the park. He was absolutely just incredible. An absolutely fantastic servant. Sidibe never quite made it, but he obviously decided to leave pretty quickly. And then you can see there nearly $500,000 in fees in, which saw Cabrera go. The new gen equivalent of Haaland effectively went to Barcelona. Ivica Sugic, who played in the left for us, and then other players that were just absolutely mind-boggling fees. 338 for the 2045-46, 354 the season after, 386, 239, and 416 million. Another club icon, Ismet Yanishka, back at the club as a coach, came through the academy, and it was gotten when he wouldn't sign a new deal, because him and Pujol was my midfield for a long period of time. I mean, tell me you don't get attached to a player when they play that many seasons. Went to Russia, played for Zenit, and then we brought him back as a coach. I think he was at Sunderland, and then we brought him in. But now we're able to command big fees, so we get 155 million for Ikovi, who's ironically now a manager. But he was, what a player. If it's Sergi's career stats, you can see there, hadn't really done much, but I just liked his attributes. It really kicked on for us, you know, double figures goals and assists bar one season. Quick profit, and then he'd done exceptional for Leeds in the Premier League. But then getting him 100 million for Lineheart, should have got a lot more for Rui Neto, because he had a stellar career after us. Came through a couple of good clubs there, and then it was just getting rid of a little bits and bobs. But we spent big, obviously, in ins. Hamilton wasn't particularly great for us, we sold him on. But Dimitriadis was a good right winger, Leda in the centre, Busalami was another option up front. And like, as I said earlier on, we showed him Christopher Pedreza, £9 million, and the return we got for him was just exceptional. And that's still like 15 seasons ago, so kicking through £500,000 here, £500 million, sorry, but that was Goran Ivanovic going to Barcelona after a season, Kalu, Mina, Treja, Zazic, Vrankin. So many names now that really do start to hit home and go, I remember them. But what I try and get us to a season where every player will be there, which we actually have a tab we can see, but 504 million again, who went this window? Oh, don't remind me of Alessandro De Carolis, because I think he scored against me every time we played against him. By him, Bernard Tay we brought back, but he wasn't particularly great, and Ulian Pop, just there was so many strikers at the time. It would just made sense to get rid of. 452, 229. So you can see, like, because obviously we won't have the income to make the wages, everything had to be in sales, so that covered the massive wage bill. Even like the last couple of seasons when I was winding down, I was still throwing money against the wall, the likes of the two Peters here. Basil's the one that I thought was going to kick on, indeed did not. So we took a hit, and he seems to be doing okay for Betis. David Peters is still at the club, probably would have been the long-term heir to the throne. You can see there 22 goals in 27 games in the league. Sales here, Pedraza, Dimitriatos. It was all when we were kind of getting to like 30, and it was time to let a few of them go. Big signing there was Jose Santos from the other parts. These were all like youngsters, just in case I decided to keep going. And my outs was centre back Isaac Ahebwa, who we got for Aston Villa. West Ham, sorry, it was close with the claret and blue, but again, just wasn't happy, so we just let him go. It was a sad thing about the reputation of the league still being a bit sketchy, because obviously we just get the Champions League money every year. And seeing Alcides Brinker, he went to Saudi, but he was just a great impact sub that at the start was scoring like a goal a game. Never really started a lot, but was getting goals, but eventually it was time to let him go after we poached him from Palermus back in 2051. And the last sign I ever made was Alberto Tadaro, who was basically a project, because there was a few good stats there. And I'd sold Nyarko, who I think we actually paid peanuts for. 900k, a couple loan spells. Basically a Chelsea model there. But year beforehand, big money to try and go for that big title. Rafa Fernandez was to fill a big gap at the back. I don't even know who Parajo is. Centre mid, actually. Now I do remember you. Oh, right, so he was signed like as if I was going to carry on. If the story continued. But other people there, well, 2065 means they're just in the door. So Rafa Fernandez was in the January window just there. Bruman was in if I decided to keep playing. And Gargo Torres as well. But there's a few there that were okay. And the big sales for that window was like Emmanuel Fibot, who was the greatest stumbled upon signing ever. I was struggling for centre mids. Nobody liked the look of it. I thought I'll take him in loan, by a future fee. Didn't pay the future fee. Somehow got him cheaper, and it turned out to be a pretty solid signing for us over the course of the next couple of seasons. And then we let him go to Arsenal when his game time started to dwindle. Stilder came in from, I don't know, Groningen. I think he was like one of the top youngsters in the world. Didn't kick on for us. Loaned him out and didn't make too much of a loss, so it wasn't the end of the world. Sean Millen was Young Player of the Year at one point at Rangers. We couldn't basically give him the game time, but £30 million profit. I took that, and yeah, he had a couple of loan spells out. Lucas, there's a few others there, we made some good money. So that's how the The wage bill can be so high, how we can subsidise having players on 200 grand a week, but there's not that many. You look at it. I only really have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players over 100 grand a week. I did at points have people on like 600, 700 grand a week when I was matching offers for Saudi, but I was just compensating it, and I knew I was going to sell them at one point. But it was just a case of we just need them to do certain things. But the finances have been absolutely fantastic. Sadly, it doesn't go any further back than 2060, but yeah. Every year I basically got you're probably going to fail financial fair play just purely because of the wages, but the club was kept at a good level, so yeah, it led to a lot of success with the Champions Leagues and the likes. So left is with, try to see, that's all I had, and it's meant to think we only really had in charge Baptiste, Gerard Lopez, and obviously Jim McMahon at the start. I was hoping to maybe show like records that have been broken and stuff like that, but so the other thing I got was the highest attendance. Our gate receipts went up to 4.95 million. I beat IFK in the Coping 16-0. Can we get that to load? We cannot, apparently. It's a shame. Biggest fee was obviously received was 155 million for a Covey. I couldn't beat the record of Bob Ferrier, which I was frustrated at. Our youngest ever player was Chris Love, who is now retired. He played that game 23 years ago, so yep. I thought he was going to be exceptional, but never really kicked on, which was a shame. Fastest goal was Alcides Brinker. Most goals in the match was Hoffman and said 16-0 win, and Brinker with 5 in the Premiership against Kilmarnock. Most assists in a season was Dubry with 49 in a season. I'm imagining we got 33 in the league, so the rest were in Europe. That's wild. An assist a game was absolutely crazy. We did pay like mental money for him, but I was like, he's gonna romp this league, and as you can see with his stats, I absolutely did. Just pace and precision on that right hand side. Gets an aggressive 4-4-2 when attack mid, left and right. Oldest goal scorer, Zoltan Kadar, my goalkeeper, more on him shortly. And youngest goal scorer, now 31, now probably going to leave the club, but Jordan Rennie scored in his debut, which was a penalty, because that's how you have to start pad, but class to get that way back then in 2048, and 2048-49 season, and he's still playing. In all competitions, that's what done looks so good, but most matches won in a row was 31, most matches for losing was 69, nice. It was always difficult because we'd have a great run, and then we'd get like a horrible Champions League tie, which would, kind of always make us lose one, because you obviously got some difficult top seeds. That was the system I played for the majority, nothing special, just an aggressive 4-4-2. The real emphasis of it, if I can click on it, was really just to try and hit early crosses in, and mixed, because sometimes you wanted it low, sometimes you wanted it high, but I tried to play like narrow as well, just to box everything in. But I've done its job. I was quite happy with it, and it looks like some of them are bad, like 2-star, but it's just like the elite of the elite. They're obviously at the top. So there's 2 other things I'm going to show. The first one, I'm actually going to go to the Hall of Fame. So because I tried I think it was the 2013 database, my data get corrupted with Warringtini's character. So that might be a reason I ever go back, is to try and make sure I get number 1. Maybe that sparked me into trying to topple his name being at the top of my Hall of Fame. So I'm never going to get that achievement. But it was quite cool. Like, it's a lot of managers come on really well. Jamie Spink was like a new gen who won titles everywhere. I mean, the guy went for Lincoln to whatever. But number 2, this brought me 1 Asian Cup. I'd done a lot of international management, and I obviously wanted to cover the various continents, so we got that with Australia. 34 Cinch Premiership wins, 26 Scottish Cup wins, 31 Viaplay Cups, 1 Club World Championship, 6 UEFA Super Cups, and 8 Champions Leagues. Covering all the various continents in the world, we'd won the Oceania Nations Cup with New Zealand. I won the African Cup of Nations with Nigeria. I won a World Cup with Spain. I also lost a final with Brazil in 2050. I think it was 2050 we lost it with Brazil. I also lost the Copa America final with Brazil, which would have helped complete stuff. I won a Gold Cup with America. I won 2 Nations Leagues with America as well. So it was a pretty good time. I'd have loved to have went back and won a Euros, but England will never hire me in this either because I'm Scottish. I can have every accolade in the world, they won't touch me because of the rivalry. So if I ever had to go back and play it, it would obviously be a Euros and maybe a Copa America that I would chase. But enough about myself, it's all about the club's legend, so straight to the best 11. That's the best 11 of all time. You can see the goalkeeper, 900 appearances, Zoltan Kada, 157 goals. Dimitriados has made it. Let's see if any of them are still playable. Dimitriados is still there, 33, playing at Al Ahly. Jordan Rennie still playing at the club, but you can see there 572 appearances. Erwin de Man was a massive signing at the time. We paid big money for him, £98 million in 2047. Sold him for 9.75, but he was vital for us taking that next step and absolutely had to be done. In fact, we didn't sell him for 9.75, we sold him for 20. It was his next move, it was that. Amadou Barry was a shame. Just wouldn't sign a new contract. So, yep, we did sell him for what we could. But we got a great turnout at left back for 61 million. Alex Vips has been absolutely sensational. He was one that just propped up from Brighton. I think we paid 25 for him. And like the goals and assist ratio is incredible. Can play striker, can play as a 10, can play as an 8. Just been incredible. And Pujol we previously mentioned, as did Dubre. Marquez, 29 now, but he's another one, just a great young talent we bought young. Couple of loan spells to get him kicking. Once he was integrated into the first team, was stat padding. And then Nico Convalves we've looked at with 570 and 833 games. So you can see I'm keeping a lot of them after a while. It was a core team we had for a long time. And Kieran Banks, it's always satisfying that you can get another one from the academy. So we actually had a great time, started to struggle a bit, so we sold him. We loaned him to Benfica, then sold him to Al Ahly, and then we brought him back in a free before he retired. So I mean, that's quite cool. We can look at that and already go Rennie from the academy, Banks from the academy, and then you have the players. It's like we had done the full career of Janishka, we had the full career of Stevie Leslie and Adam Gary as well, and that's all came through the academy. And I think as well, adding the new Gen AI face back just added a whole new dimension. I think it was a guy called Ulf Arison. He was half Icelandic, half Scottish, and he had a neck tattoo. And it was right at the start. So I mean, put it on Twitter and I put it on Instagram. I'm like, this is just giving these boys a good wee bit of character. But extra shout outs as well. Felipe Loney, our goalkeeper. Janishka, Wadrington, Hoffman, and Pedraza. And then shout outs to the 2 real players that managed to survive the whole test of time, which is Liam Scales and Sonny Perkins. But if it lets me go through it, season by season, that's kind of the team we had at the moment. But if I can go way back, that's how aggressive we were at times. I actually changed system a wee bit to having that. We made this, because the emphasis here was Hartley and Kalu. We're trying to basically support Stefan Rask as much as they could. Oh, Brian Hunter as well. There's another one for Academy. Looks like he was going to be exceptional, and then just a bad injury and ended up way down the leagues. It's crazy the players you'll stumble across. When I effectively tried to use it as a free so Hartley could roam in here, Cabrera and Sugic, I think we played that for a little while. I've always had that situation when we just tried to body teams with playing free up front as well. So it did take quite a while, and I switched between a few systems just depending on the players we had. You can see that Adam Garrity was in there. Hugh Herring, we loved him for a season and he went to Atlanta. That was a great time to get a player in like that standard, only get a season out of him and then punt him on. Did Stevie Leslie ever actually get another team in the season? Oh, he was always on the bench. Oh, Dennis Norris. So the funny story behind Dennis Norris was I just called him Wando after the F1 driver, and I thought he was going to be another one that would really kick on, but it was never the case. He got most of his international caps with us, but he basically ended up having a great career over in Holland at PSV, but he was one that had the potential, but it just never really kicked on. It's just looking through here, looking by so many memories. Dennis Longcar, who went to Leeds as well. It's weird seeing them with some of the new AI faces, because some of them had updated it and it just completely messed up a lot of them. But there's so many there, and if we go all the way back, first season, 3-5-2, oh my word, I had Ollie Shaw up front with Ben Waine. That's how bad they got for strikers. Theobert wasn't quite the breakout star that he was in real life, but now that's pretty much what I had to go with. Kelly, Mugabe, Casey, McGinn, Sods, Pap Soiree, kind of rotated with George Gent, Spittle, Payton and Miller with Wayne and Shaw. You can see then straight away the next season's team looks vastly, vastly different. And that partnership of Ambrosini and Taylor was just really good. And then Belmont and Van Persie. To Rory Wilson and Perkins, it's just looking for these lineups, it's just wow. And Perkins and Dale Taylor. Dale Taylor, Perkins, as I used to play Perkins a lot as a 10 eventually, to get the three of them in. It was just whatever you could work with. Oh, the memories. But yeah. Sometimes you need to leave the memories alone and say, it was a great time, but it's time for something else. So I think, as I said, I just wanted to round it up. I actually just wanted to have a kind of a digital copy so I could maybe look back and go, wow, what a team we had, what a save it was. And I don't think I'll ever go back and play it, but if it's still convertible into like the future FM, then I might go back and do an epilogue and maybe try and take it to 2070 and see, because we have some good talents, like still at the club, like especially with the age, like there's like 3 players over 30. A lot are still really, really young, and if I look at that starting lineup, like Peters is 21, Hoffman's 24, both fully 5-star, Netta's 26, Whips is 26, just coming out their prime. And the one I posted on Twitter, Chris McHale, 16. The guy has a Club World Championship, a Champions League winners medal, constant other stuff. And like, as I say, can only get better. Like, he's 16, he has 8 goals and 11 assists from right back. Because he came through the same academy intake as Yanis Saidi, who we're just trying to find the right thing for him. But he's already played in Hibs at 16, so hopefully he gets better and better as well. But the save sits there. We'll see how it goes. And never say never. But if you wanted to see like pictures of like various stuff, like how some mega matches went, players when they signed, players when they sold, etc. Twitter handle's 21 Maxwell. If you just check the pinned tweet, the whole story is pretty much there until the ridiculous ages. Then just do 21 Maxwell and hashtag FM24. But that's it. Thank you for having a look over my story. I know I didn't really cover too many of the matches, but I feel like there were so many occasions where like it was too many memorable moments that I feel like the half of them were like, I don't even remember this, because like a match that could have meant so much, like in 2034, you don't even think about it in 2065. So I wanted to more showcase the great players, because even though I haven't really played the save in like 2 months, a lot of stuff I've forgot, so it was a nice wee recap. But thank you very much for watching, it's deeply appreciated. If you enjoyed it, a wee thumbs up, deeply appreciated. Let us know how your FM saves have been. Is there any like new gens that you've properly got attached to? And until next time, this was 21 Maxwell. See you soon. Bye bye.